Hey everybody, welcome to Life Inside Hell. I'm your host, Brother Wild Bill. This is my audio diary. I am the prison's chaplain as well as an inmate inside the most dangerous prison in Central America. From 2006 to 2010, I was Central America's premier professional killer. I was arrested in 2010, extradited back to Panama, and given a 46-year sentence for quintuple homicide. That's 5 of them. So I've been in jail for 13 years now, and for the last 3 years and 8 months, 3 years and 8 months to be exact, I've been inside a facility called Sector C. Now we want to talk about what Sector C is today, how it works, and how both national and international governments use Sector C. The first time I ever heard about Sector C was when I was still in the old David public prison in the Chiriqui province of Panama. There I was the elected representative of the people to the government, as well as the administrator of the prisoners on behalf of the government. And the person I reported directly, my boss, was the head guard. I mean, I had an office inside his office as a prisoner, and the prisoners were my responsibility. I was their representative. So one day he was telling me about this new facility that they were building called Sector C inside a new prison that was being constructed in Panama. And he said it was just terrible, that the situation there was really difficult. And I really took it. I mean, he was a really nice guy and everything, but he was a head guard, so he was kind of a politician. I took it to be like a ghost story. I didn't believe it. And then a friend of mine got sent to Sector C from the prison we were in, and he just disappeared off the face of the planet. Nobody ever heard from him again. And we were like, that's strange. And now a funny thing is that years later, almost a decade later, I'm living in the cell right beside him right now. He's still here. He's been here over 6 years. Anyway, he's the longest one. I'm the second longest one that's been in here, and he's the longest. He's been here 6 years. I've been here almost 4. I'm the second longest that's survived it. Now, what is Sector C? Sector C is 9 cell blocks of 9 times 20. There's 180 cells in Sector C. Sector C is a place where you don't have any human rights at all. There's no torture, no direct torture. I say it's a soft torture facility. When I say soft torture, the reason I say that is because they don't come and beat you or waterboard you, but they do things like suspend your medical. You're not allowed to see a doctor. You're not allowed to bring food in. You're not allowed, and things like that. It's a soft torture facility. They lock you in and forget about you. They lock you in, throw away the key. I don't mean they lock you in and give you a few hours out of day. I mean they lock you in and forget about your ass. If you live good, if you die, that's okay too. Even better. Sector C is a place where they don't bring prisoners who are dangerous. The dangerous prisoners are in the regular prisons, killing people and doing things in the regular prisons. Sector C is a place where you come when you've really pissed off the Panamanian government, or the foreign nations want to extradite you. Here, they have an equal mix of monsters, psychopaths and monsters, and political prisoners. And the reason that is they mix you in with extremely psychotic elements of the prison system, so that you might get killed. That's part of the deal, because a lot of people die in Sector C. And currently, I think there's only 120 something prisoners here. At the height, there was 157. There's 180 cells, but there's less prisoners, and everybody's 1 to a cell. Anyway, that's one good thing. The only good thing about Sector C is you've got your own cell with your own shower and your own toilet, and you have water 4 hours a day, which is better than many Panamanian prisons, actually. And so you have water 3 hours in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon. I'm not even complaining about that. That might seem horrible to y'all on the outside, but I'm not even complaining about that, because it's even worse in other Panamanian prisons. But what we want to talk about today is how Sector C is used by the Panamanian government, and how Sector C is used by the American government. The Panamanian government uses Sector C as a warehouse of human flesh. If you cause hunger strikes, if you lead other prisoners to do things the government doesn't like, if you fight for your rights, if you embarrass the government some way, if you refuse to cooperate in a big and important case, the Panamanian government will send you to Sector C and put you in here to see if they can kill you that way, in a soft way. There's 3 ways you can die in Sector C. 1, you can expire from natural causes, the stress of being in Sector C, not seeing your family, not being able to talk to your family, not being given decent food, many other things like that. Those sort of stresses cause a lot of people to just expire naturally of natural causes. 2, you can also, the lack of medical care, if you have a diabetes or a really high blood pressure or something, you can just have a stroke and die, or have a diabetic shock and die, and then that takes care of that. Another way you can die in Sector C is that someone will kill you. That happens a lot. A lot of times you'll see this happen to my friend who's beside me, who I was just talking about a few minutes ago. They put him in a cell next to 3 of his enemies. Now in Sector C, there are all kinds of weapons and stuff. Even though it's a supermax facility, there are murders with firearms here all the time. It's a regular thing. So the government can place you in a place where they think there's a really high chance of you being murdered. Or you can kill yourself, which also happens with great regularity. People murder themselves. People commit suicide, here with regularity as well. We had a suicide attempt here maybe a week and a half ago, actually. So that's what Sector C is, and how does it work? Well, let's say that you refuse to cooperate, or you refuse to rat on your friends in a big high-profile case. The district attorney might call the penitentiary system and say, we want to put some pressure on Joe Bob. Send Joe Bob over to Sector C for a little while, and let's see if he wants to cooperate. And then they'll tell him, well, you can get, after 6 months of hell in Sector C, they'll say, well, you can get out of Sector C if you want to rat on your friends. And so, to save your own life, a lot of people will do that. Another way that they use it is, let's say you lead hunger strikes. That was me. I led some hunger strikes fighting for the rights of the poor prisoners, and that's how I wound up in Sector C. I got sent here, and they call it, when you get to Sector C, they call it a Panamanian death sentence. It's a slang term, because only really about 1 out of every 3 people that come in here, only 2 of about every 3 people that get in here get out alive. One out of every, let's not be too extravagant. 1 out of every 4 people that come in here die here. So it's not a stretch to call it a Panamanian death sentence. It's a soft torture facility. They just put enough stress on you. Now, human rights don't exist. The Nelson Mandela Accords that Panama signed and every other, reasonable nation and signed to the UN, they don't apply those here. The Panamanian National Law 55 of 2003, which governs the prisons, they don't apply that here. They literally suspend your human rights, that's not legal in Iraq. That's not legal in Iran. It's not legal anywhere, but yet they do it. And so it's really a mad place. So how do the foreign nations use it? Well, let's just talk about that right now. There's a kid here right now. I say a kid, he's 35 years old. I call him John on this show because I don't want to say his real name. That's not his name. He's an American guy from Florida. He's here. They brought him here and stuck him in here and said, well, you're being extradited back to the States. And they stuck him in here so that he won't fight extradition. They put you in these terrible conditions so that you're not comfortable and you won't fight extradition. Happened to a Russian friend of mine named Norman. That is his real name, actually. Norman was here for a year and a half fighting extradition. He had no legal reason to be in prison at all. In Panama and Estonia, I call him Russian, he's from Estonia. Panama and Estonia do not have an extradition treaty. By law, there's no legal reason why Panama should have him in prison, but they had him in prison and they just left him here to rot until he decided that he wanted to go back to Estonia. And that was it. So the foreign nations use Panama as like a redheaded stepchild to torture people who they want to cooperate. Let's say you're in Sector C and the American government wants you. The American government comes see, well, come on back to the States and rat on your friends, and we'll put you in a minimum security prison and give you a low sentence. Well, I don't want to rat on my friends. Well, then you could just stay in Sector C, and they leave you in Sector C for 6 months, and then they come and visit you again and say, don't you want to come back to the United States and rat on your friends? Please, God, take me out of this shithole, That's how foreign governments use Sector C. So like the Americans, the English, the UK, Australia, developed, first world nations don't want anything to change here. And so people don't know about Sector C because nobody wants you to know about it, you know? So that's the truth about Sector C and how it works. I am organizing a hunger strike. Listen now, please. I am organizing a hunger strike that hopefully will begin on the 1st of June. Everybody's agreed here. We had a meeting today with the prisoners. And we're going to do a hunger strike. Now, what I need is international attention. I'd like to talk to someone in an international journalist, a journalist, but not some asshole from some tabloid or something, but like somebody serious that would like a story about a hunger strike in a torture facility in Panama. If you know of anybody like that, or if you have any ideas of how to get me in contact with somebody reputable like that, you know, something bigger than a podcast, you know, some real media entity, then please reach out and help me with that. You can pull the description box down. My contact information is there. There's an email address. There's Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff's there. There's a Wikipedia link about me. You can learn more about me there. And I also wrote a book called Long Live the King Wild Bill. I'm the king of hell. I'm in hell, a living hell, Sector C, and I am the king here. You can pull the description box down and buy a copy of that book too. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. So like and subscribe this, and remember, boys and girls, if there's anything that you can do to help me to get a hold of a reputable media contact who'd like a story about a hunger strike in hell, please reach out. Thanks so much for listening. God bless each and every one of you. Now listen, tomorrow, baby. Tomorrow, a story is dropping about a person, a really famous person, General Manuel Antonio Noriega, who was a dear friend of mine, and I did a short 5-episode history about him. It's coming out to Monday morning at midnight, actually. And I'm really excited about it, so you don't miss it.